Hi everyone, it's Pauline with Craft at Home. For your next scenery card, you will have in your supplies some basic white base card that's already been folded. You'll have some of this retired designer series paper, specialty paper. You will need to trim this ever so slightly, but hold on to that first as is until we are ready to cut. You'll have a piece of the basic black. You'll have a smaller piece of the basic white, and that is for us to go ahead and stamp and cut our windmill. You'll have a piece of this granny apple green, and this granny apple green is actually taken from the mountain dies. You'll also have a piece of real red cardstock, and you'll need to cut a piece of this designer series paper, and that measures 8 centimeters by 14.9 centimeters because that's going to cover our base card. So basically what you're going to do is glue down your piece of designer series paper. You will also need your adhesive, and you will also need your your foam mount strip, your adhesive stripping as well. And also in your supplies, you have your adhesive sheet that you will need for this as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually glue down and set aside that. The second thing I'm going to do is take my basic white cardstock, and we're going to stamp a windmill, and then we are going to cut it out. Now what we're going to do is just add a little bit of colour to our windmill, and you can use your aqua painter, or you can actually use a blending pen, or you can use your marker. For this one, I'm actually just going to take my crumb cake and my clear block, using the brush end, rub a little bit of colour onto the block, and then taking my aqua painter that has a very minimal amount of water in it, I'm actually just going to colour over my windmill. And I'm going darker on this side because that is where the shadow of the windmill would be. All right, clean off the block, and what you need to do now is it's going to sit round about there, but we'll just hold on for a second. You're going to take your real red layer, and you're going to take your dies, and you're going to cut out 2 strips of the tulip run that we have in our set. So now I have my 2 lots of tulips, and what I'm going to do is bring over the mountain dies. What I want to do with this will be a little bit fiddly, and you may wish to have added some of your adhesive paper to this, but what we're going to do is just glue down our tulips, and you will have a double up over the other side, or you can move it up to make a different layer. So that's what we're actually going to do. So just take a little bit of your adhesive. So the adhesive sheets are a lot easier for this. Just dabbing and brushing a little bit of adhesive, positioning that just about there. And then taking my other one, just make sure I've got it the right way. I want it to go there. So I'm just popping my finger there so I know roughly where I'm going to go. And then popping that down, and I'm just going to dab my baby wipe over that. Just take off that little bit of excess that's just squished out there a little bit. All right. And then taking your snips, snip away that part. All right. What you will now need to do is cut a third strip of your tulips, and you'll have your excess bits as well. What we're going to do now is, if you take off the first 4 tulips around here, just give it a curve, follow the curving line. And this is where the adhesive will be a lot easier with the sheeting, but we're going to go with it. And I'm going to position my tulips just on the edge of that curve there. And I'm going to continue along, cutting and placing tulips all the way along this part of this card. So when you get to the end, you could do a 3 at this end. So just little dabs of glue, popping my tulips in. And then on my next row, I might be able to actually, yep, I reckon I could do a fair bit of tulip there. Like so. And then placing my tulips just along the edge. Now you can trim any of the green and you can trim any of the tulips. So we're going to continue like that until we have done all of the sections. Okay, so now what we have is our piece of specialty paper. You have your bike, you'll have your tulips, and you have your base card. All right. First thing what I'm going to do is actually work out how far I would like a lot of the road to show, or whether or not I wish to a little bit of a road to show. So I'm going to go probably about midway. So for this, just along the edge of our granny apple green, and I'm going to come down about that far. Just tap off that, just move that a little bit, that's okay. What you are going to do is take your basic black, you're going to attach your adhesive sheeting to it, and we are going to cut out a bike. So placing that onto there and cutting out a bike. If I want the bike to go the other direction, I would put the cardstock down like that and the die on top. That way then the bike is actually going to glue down in the opposite direction. But I want my bike to be going towards my windmill, so I'm going to cut like that. So something to be mindful of when you're using the Big Shot or your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, or whichever die cutting machine you have, just might want to consider putting an extra piece of cardstock as acting as a shim in the layer, so that way we get a perfect cut. Sometimes they, being such an intricate die, it might not cut straight away the first time. So you may need to just add that extra layer to your die cutting sandwich so that you can actually get a deeper impression to make it an easier cut. And because we're doing 2 layers as well, that's also going to add to it. So now we're going to sit and pop out all of our little bits. All right. And then what I'm going to do is add my bike. So just peel away the adhesive. Just be careful not to rip your basket or your handlebars off. It is quite sticky. Okay. And I'm going to position my bike about here. Now what I'm going to do is come in and trim all along this section here. Tulips are just still drying. So just put that. So I'm going to actually grab my snips and I'm going to come in just ever so slightly under that. It will need a little bit of time to dry. It's actually moving a bit. So we're going to just come in there and take away that excess of that specialty paper. It's just depending on how high you wish or how much road you want to be showing. All right, so taking it that way. Now what you want to do is just measure that. Make sure we're on our edge like so. We have our windmill. I'm just tucking the windmill just so that the tulips are showing there. What we're going to now do is take our foam adhesive strip and we're going to position this and I'm going to adhere this all the way along, snipping it off. And then what you'll need to do is just add some more adhesive up the top and peel that off, peeling this off, popping it down just so that it covers our base part. Now, if you would like to add more adhesive to the top section, some more mounting foam or mini dimensionals to there, you can. Taking your multi-purpose glue, just sticking down, I think I'm out of glue, popping some of that down onto there and tucking my windmill in just enough to see. And there we have our card. This is the scenery card for our crafted home kit. So I hope you like that one, and that's it. All good. See you then. Bye.